Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Stacy Varghese, and I'm the Director of Leadership Giving and Engagement at St. John's University. Today, we have Susan Ginsberg O'Sullivan, who will begin a three-part series on building a resume. Today's working session will focus on the objective. Some housekeeping rules before we begin. If you have a question, please submit it on the bottom right in the Q&A section to panelists and host, and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. A recording of this webinar will be available to you on the Alumni Professional Development page on the university site. Now, I'm excited to introduce our speaker. Susan Ginsberg O'Sullivan is a New York City-based certified executive and leadership coach and certified Daring Way facilitator, helping busy professionals make positive change. She specializes in career and personal development, career strategies, career transition, leadership coaching, and workshop facilitation. Susan sat on the board of the International Coach Federation's New York City chapter until December 2018. Also, as a certified therapy dog handler, Susan and her dog Bertha bring smiles to many in the local community. Welcome, Susan. I will hand the webinar controls over to you now.
Great. Thank you, Stacy. Good morning, everyone. Of course, my computer is not working now to move to the next page. Oh, here we go. Okay. So I'm excited to talk about today's topic, which is part one of a three-part series. And today we're going to talk about, Stacy called it the objective. I'm calling it the summary, because we're going to tell you the difference between having a resume objective and a resume summary. So, and also as part of today, we're going to have a little exercise. So hopefully you'll get to start to write your resume summary, or at least to get thinking about it. Okay, so let's dig in. So today's agenda: what is a resume statement, why have a resume summary, elements of a resume summary, and how to write one. And so again, I'm going to walk you through it. If you've got questions, Stacy's going to take them, and maybe she'll show them to me. But again, we want you to get very comfortable with. Oh, what did I just do? I'm sorry. I apologize. We want to get comfortable with writing your resume summary. And this sometimes is the hardest part of a resume, of putting a resume together. Why is that? Because we have to write about ourselves. That's what I think. Okay, so why have a resume summary? So, if those of you who attended other workshops of mine, I've spoken about, recruiters spend no more than 5 seconds on a resume. They are inundated with resumes. We've talked about, the ATS, how they use the applicant tracking system to find candidates. And when they get those resumes, or if they're getting them off of LinkedIn or wherever they're getting them from, that they spend no more than 5 seconds, because they're getting thousands. And so the first things they're looking at is the top portion of the resume, where the summary is. And that is either the go or the no-go place. And so you want to make sure that your summary at the top is going to get you go. You don't want to get your resume or your LinkedIn profile into the garbage can. You want to make sure that it stays in the good pile, because the goal of the recruiter is to get the resumes into the garbage can, and that you don't want that to be you. So that's where we want to spend this time today. And so, as I mentioned, the recruiters spend no more than 5 seconds on the resume. That's where their eyes go first. That's what they're looking at, as I just mentioned. So the summary is an introduction of you to the reader. It's the tell me about yourself in a few sentences. And we're going to talk about how you write that and how you think about that, because it is hard when someone says, tell me about yourself. And the summary ensures a brief and clear understanding of your top selling points. It's like, what do you do? Who are you? And you're going to hear me say this over and over and over again today. So, what is the value that you bring to a company? What are you known for? And so that's what we want you to start thinking about. And I apologize, I forgot to say in the beginning when we first started that there are 150 people on this call today, or at least scheduled to be on this workshop today. So you're not alone if you think you're the only one out there. And the summary, it's important to have for whether you're changing careers, whether you're a college graduate, your recent college graduate, or an experienced professional. So again, everyone should have a summary at the top of their page. And there are different ways in which you can present it, but you need to have something there that the recruiter or the hiring manager is looking at. So I just wanted here to point out the difference between a resume objective and the resume summary. So a resume objective, it's about me and about what you want. So, you're looking for a position at, at a Fortune 500 financial services organization. In what position? That's what you're looking for. But the summary is the role. It's about what you are, who you are, what you do, and what you're an excellent fit for. So it's very different. And I don't really see many resume objectives at the top of a resume anymore. Maybe if you're just right out of school, or you're in school still and you're looking for a job, but otherwise the resume summary is the way to go. So, what is the resume statement? So the resume statement and or summary, as I'm calling it, it's just a few short sentences. They're high level, they're very targeted, and they summarize your skills and your experiences. Sometimes you'll hear them called qualification summaries or even just competencies. But again, it's just 2 or 3 sentences that when they're done right, they give you an advantage in the hiring game, but it also gives the person reading your resume a great overview of you, who you are and what you do and what you bring to the table. And it's your introduction to the hiring manager. It's giving them a little preview into who you are. And remember, if you've been to any of my other workshop, the keywords are the key to getting found. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Again, the keywords, what are those keywords that they're searching on because they're using the ATS to help them find candidates? And what are the keywords that you can pepper throughout your summary as well as throughout your resume? But that's a whole nother conversation. So starting to write your summary, one of the first things you need to do is you need to read the job description. Who are they looking for? What do they want the person to bring to the table? And what value can they bring? So that's what they're looking for in the job description. Now it's your turn to sort of answer that question in your summary. So what are your top selling points? Think of 3 or 4 things that define you as a professional and that are unique to you. And make sure these are the things that you enjoy doing. You don't want to put in there, okay, you may have a competency or a skill in doing analysis, but if you hate doing analysis, I wouldn't put that in there because you may get a job doing analysis again. Again, I'm just using as an example. So don't put the things in there, the competencies that you don't enjoy, put the ones that you do enjoy. How does your summary align with the job requirements? So think about, you're reading the job description and they're asking what they're looking for. How do your skills align with them? And you want to make sure that when you are writing your summary that you are you're making sure that your statement is aligning with what they're looking for. What are your career highlights and strengths? And do you have additional, certifications or achievements that set you apart? And you can also add those into the summary. There's a way to do that, and there's a way not to do that. But as we'll get into that, as you get a little further in, I can give you examples of how to do that. So writing your summary statement, you want to make sure that you are specific and that you tailor it not only to the position, but to the company as well. And you want to customize for each position. And I'm a little, sometimes I'm saying this to you here, customize for each position, but I'm not when I think about customization, I'm not thinking about you have to rewrite a whole summary every time. And with the examples I'm going to show you, you're going to see a summary, but then there are competencies underneath there. Some of them are great for keywords. And I'm not a fan of rewriting the summary, but I am a fan of making sure you customize those competencies. Because again, it's all about the ATS, how it picks it up, how it finds you in the system. So you want to make sure that you are picking up those targeted keywords. Open your statement with your title. Why? Because this is this is sort of your professional identity. It immediately communicates that. So in my former career, I was a vice president of marketing. Now I wouldn't write down vice president of marketing on my title, but I might say, marketing executive. And so again, you want to make sure people are understanding who you are at a certain level. So you want to state your role and skills that you want to tout. You want to include specific experiences of value that you bring to the role. What do you bring to the table? And keep it short and sweet. This is not a long story. This is around 3 or 4 sentences. I always count the lines. I don't like to go more than 5 lines, maybe 6 depending, but that's like pushing it a little bit. But you don't want this to be a long story, because again, recruiters spend no more than 5 seconds on your resume, and I probably doubled that. And I'm not being serious. And you want to make sure that you're grabbing their attention. Short, sweet, high level. And then third, you want to add anything that you know to be important to the hiring team. So you want to make sure you do your homework, and you have to do your homework before you start writing this. Are there any questions so far? Stacy, any questions?
Not yet. Oh, I see one coming in.
Yeah, because I can't see anything for some reason.
Sure, I can read it to you really quickly. It says, if currently self-employed, what would you recommend placing as a title?
What is consultant? I don't know what the role is that you do, what you have, but it could be consultant, marketing consultant, finance consultant, title like that. Again, you say what you are. Be specific. Any other questions coming in?
Not as of yet.
Okay. So let's look at the summary versus the job description. So the job description, and let's look at the right. On the job description on the right, it says business development, customer sales manager. And as you read through this, if you can see it, there are certain words that are highlighted: account management, promotional, high tech, product, quote, projects, face-to-face, and customer oriented. So these are specific keywords that you want to make sure that you are writing in your summary. So an example of a summary on the left is, so this is a business development sales manager. They advise and support clients using extensive background in marketing program generation, account management, corporate revenue allocation, resource allocation, and product rollout in a high-tech environment. Customer-oriented, with emphasis on profitable growth through continual interaction, including face-to-face and virtual methods. Establish marketing, promotional, and sales strategies with the focus on product and ability to quote projects to drive maximum return on investment. So you see how this example picked up the keywords from a job description and then added them to their summary, which is how they're going to get found. Is that clear for everyone? Everyone understand that? Okay, any questions for that? No?
Not for that, but I do see one question. If you were laid off as part of a COVID-related RIF, what should you use as a title?
I'm going to ask this person specifically, what was your role at your previous company? Again, while they're answering that, you just put down what you were. If you were a marketing professional, if you were an accountant, whatever it is, you're not, because you're not at a company anymore, it doesn't mean that you lose who you are. You are still that professional. And so you have to use those titles. Because if your next job, if you want that same role, you're gonna look for jobs in that role, you have to use that title, or you should use that title. So, and I want to be clear, at the top of the resume, you don't have to put down, like this one here showing sales manager. You could put that in there, but you don't have to put manager there. You could do business development, sales, you could do, business development, sales, you could do sales manager, you could just do sales. You could put sales in there. sales growth, or whatever words work, but that's who you are. The title does not define you. So think about what you do, not about the title that defines you. Don't think of the title as defining you. Just think about, what you do. I hope that makes sense. I hope that was clear.
I received a response. It's from Ellen. It's Senior Counsel, Construction, Procurement, and Special Projects.
So you could do senior counsel. Is that, I'm assuming that might be an attorney. So you might general counsel, or attorney, and then you could also do procurement. Again, what are those keywords? So again, you have what you just said to me was great. That's great. You can use those as keywords. I'm gonna move on here. So the elements of a resume summary. So, your title, so you want to have your title, which we're talking about right now, one that communicates your professional identity. It doesn't have to be, vice president or director or manager. Again, it could be what you do. So the example here, I have digital marketing professional. This could be digital marketing executive. It could be digital marketing leader. I mean, you can add words like that. I like adding a subhead under the title, and it's bringing up a couple of the keywords that you do. So this one is strategic development, data analytics, and budget management. Again, it's thinking about the hiring manager or the recruiter. They're seeing this. So right now they know that this person is a digital marketing professional. Their skills are in strategic development, data analytics, and budget management. Those are the 3 top skills that this person wanted the person to see, who's reading it, the reader to see. And then we get down to the description. We bring in the title to start the summary. This is a digital marketing leader with extensive experience creating successful integrated campaigns that engage the consumer, drive growth, revenue growth, and profitability for high-profile organizations. Known for leading insights-led strategies that drive growth across a variety of channels and products. Trusted business partner, collaborator, and team leader with a proven track record meeting company goals through leadership, open communication, cultivating talent, and managing expectations. Diverse experience in credit cards, pharmaceuticals, and financial services. So again, this is a very high-level overview of what this person does. And they're telling you what they do for high-profile companies. They engage the customer. They drive revenue growth and profitability. Really important in a company. They're known for leading strategies, driving growth in a variety of different products. They're a business partner, a collaborator, and a team leader. And so again, they use open communications, cultivating talent, managing expectation, keywords, and then where the experience is: credit cards, pharmaceuticals, and financial services. This is just an example. I think this one could be, there's a lot of redundant words in here that I would cut back on or cut out to make sure that they're not saying the same thing over and over again. But I hope you see this as an illustration of how you might construct a summary. Are any questions about this?
Yes, I have 2 questions that came in.
Okay.
The first one is, I was a cosmetologist/salon manager transitioning to a counselor/social worker. Could
Okay.
you use, yep.
So this is the situation I had also, because I spent my entire career as a marketing executive, and then I became, a coach. And so, you can't change your history. And we're going to talk about the body of the resume next month, but you can't change your history. It is what it is. So your summary should reflect who you are and what you want to do now to become a social worker. And so you need to write that story about what you're doing. And hopefully that what's going to happen is that someone will say, well, that's so interesting. How did you come from being a cosmetologist, to, want to be a social worker? And that's part of your story. And you may be able to even include some of that in your summary, but I'd have to think about this a little more, but there may be some skills that from your previous profession to your next profession that are the same. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. But again, you should write who you are now, who you're trying to become now. What's your profession you're trying to have now. Don't worry about the history is the history. You can't change it. I mean, some people like to, but but we're going to stick to it. The history is the history of your work. Hopefully that makes sense. Any other questions?
Yes. Yeah. With this summary, do we still provide a list of responsibilities for this particular position you are showing?
Yeah, so under here, I didn't show it here, and I'm going to show you in another one, the next one here. Yes, you do have, we don't list the responsibilities, but you list the competencies. So for this sales leader one here, this is a sales leader, it's explaining senior level sales leader with experience in healthcare sales, management, marketing, training, and strategic planning, proven track record of significant contributions to profit levels and productivity by developing and motivating a successful sales force, dynamic leader and motivator using an effective combination of analytical and interpersonal skills, talent for building multifunctional teams while facilitating change management, highly skilled presenter with ability to influence others and win support on critical issues. And then they list their competencies. Excuse me. I like to list no more than 9 because I think it gets just overwhelming. So again, these are the competencies. I wouldn't list your responsibilities. That would come in your body of your resume. So these are just the competencies that, again, high level, if someone doesn't read your paragraph, they can just look down to see the skills that you have. Does that make sense?
I think so. Next question. Could you use this summary on LinkedIn, or is it too long? How does the resume summary differ from a LinkedIn summary?
It doesn't really, it doesn't differ. You can absolutely use the summary on your LinkedIn. Where I would change it is that on LinkedIn, you can write it in the first person. So I am a senior sales leader with experience in healthcare sales management training, marketing. I have a proven track record of significant. So I write it in the first person, and on LinkedIn you can go into more detail. You have up to 2,000 characters, so you can tell your story a little bit more. Again, they can, or you can just pick it up and plop it in there. But I like to make them a little bit different. But yes, you can absolutely do that. You can absolutely do that.
Great.
But I would write it in the first person. Yes.
Rosemary's asking, how would the summary change for a person who is in the science field?
Be exactly the same. Be exactly the same. I have people in the science field. I wish I would have known. I would have put one up here. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same paragraph and competencies below. Now, the other thing you can do is, and I didn't put an example here. So you have the sales leader. You have this paragraph here. The other thing you can do is, if you don't want to put in your competencies here, you can also put in select accomplishments, and then you could do like 3 or 4 accomplishments. You can say, if you could say business development, and you write down what that accomplishment was. You can do, diagnostics if you're in science, whatever, and talk what that is. Again, you can do a little explanation, but it's not long. It's just a sentence or 2 of an accomplishment that you had. So you can add that in and you can make that look a little different, blow it out a little differently. I hope that's clear.
Next question. Do you prefer lists as noted in this example, or do you prefer commas like the previous example?
Commas in the previous example.
Where it looked more like a summary.
It depends. I mean, I like this. I like this layout here, and then I like having the columns of the competencies. I do like having the subhead. I think that's really important. If I am working on a very senior level resume, I may have the column. I may have here this like a summary here, but then I'll have like 4 or 5 competencies, like I mentioned, and give some examples of that in a couple sentences. It all depends on the role. It depends on the position, and depends on the level.
Last question for now. Re-entering the workforce after a long period of staying home with children. Any suggestions for a quick line or 2 to address this so the resume doesn't end up in the garbage?
I don't think you need to address it. I think you need to be ready to tell the story. You should still write a resume for what you did up until whatever point. For sometimes for people who've been out of the workforce for a long time, there is a format called the functional resume. And I don't have an example here of it, but a functional resume um, is you're talking about more in chunks of the work that you did at a very high level and not focusing on where you did the work. You do present where you did the work, but that would be like on a second page. The first page would be more about where your skills are at a very high level. But again, the challenge I find with a functional resume is that it can be perceived as quote unquote old, like you've been out of the workforce for a long time, or you're just, it just shows something's going on there. So I would try to do one this way and just write down what happened. If someone says to you, and in your cover letter is where you get to tell the story. In your cover letter, you get to say, after, raising my children, I'm now looking to re-enter into the workforce. This is what I did in my previous role. It's again, that's where I would tell your story. Remember, the resume is just the facts of your work history. That's all it is the facts. It's the facts of your work history. It's not telling, the story of you. Your cover letter, you get to tell the story a little bit more. So you get to bring that out. So I hope that is helpful. Any other questions before I go on?
I guess you can just answer this one. How long should we keep the resume? 1 to 2 pages?
So my theory on length of resume is tell your story. Tell the story. And if it comes out to 2 pages, great. If it comes out to 1 page, fine. If you're just out of college, it should be, 1 page. It's not going to be a 2-pager. But if you've got, 5 or more years of work, it probably will be 2 pages. So just tell the story and don't worry about the length. It should not go to 3 pages unless you're a very senior executive and been working like 30 or 40 years. It shouldn't be more than 3 pages. But again, 2 pages is totally acceptable. And especially if you've been working for more than 5 years. I actually get suspicious if it's 1 page. I like, you've been working this long, but where's all the work here? You're not showing me anything. So tell your story is my advice. Okay, so writing the resume summary, and thank you for those questions. They're all very good. So, think of 3 or 4 things that define you as a professional. This could be like you have a strong sales record, that you implement, enterprise-wide technology solutions, that you manage and implement transformational organizational change. Again, what are the 3 or 4 things that define you as a professional, what you do? And then think about what you are known for. What value do you bring to an organization? And even more simply, what do you do? I mean, just think about I think writing the summary is one of the hardest things to do because it's about us. When you get to the facts of what you do, but when you have to say who you are, it's harder. The anything below the summary is all about what you were doing for an organization, and now the top is what you do. Below is what you were hired to do, and now this is about me, what I do, even without whether you're working or not working, it's just about you. And we have to write about ourselves. It's hard, and so try to take the you out of it. Just try to think about it at a high level. Think about the facts, about what were you hired to do, or what do you do as a professional? Try to keep it simple. And make sure you're using those keywords that align with the job description. But first, my first thing is don't worry about the keywords at first. I would just write it. I would just try to get it out, start writing it, and then you can go back and start adding in the keywords as you look at job descriptions. Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a few minutes and for you to think about your statement. I'm here right now, and so let's have a little exercise. So write down what are the three or 4 things that you would like to get across in a resume summary. And I wrote down some questions here for you to think about. So think about what you do, how do you do it, what is the value you bring to an organization, what differentiates you, what are you known for, competencies. So I'm going to give you, let's say like, 5 minutes to think about that, to start writing it, and then we'll come back and we'll try, we'll try to share. If anyone wants to share or ask questions, I'm here to do that. Even as we're doing this now, if you have questions, just let me know and I'll try to help you through that. Okay? All right, time starts now.
If anybody would like to share, as Susan said, please let me know in the chat box.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find an example of a scientific resume to show. Okay, so I'm just going to close my camera for a second. So the person who was asking me about the about the scientific resume, here's an example of one that I apologize for the formatting, not right, because I just copied it from a PDF, but she is an infectious disease specialist, virology, health outcomes, and ophthalmology. Those are her keywords. And you can then read how she talks about herself, and then she adds in the her competencies are positive impacting, oh, sorry, that's wrong. That should be at the next sentence, but education, training, development, clinical research, managed care, medical resource development, pharmacoeconomics research, team leadership, implementing clinical programs, and strategic planning. So again, you can see how, I'm just going to fix this because it's making me crazy, but. So you can see how a scientific one may work. Does anyone have any questions about the exercise? How are they doing?
I see a question coming in about CVs.
Okay.
I am in academia and need to use a CV. However, I am branching out into consulting on the side. Can you comment on the CV versus resume? Do you recommend a resume for my corporate clients?
Yeah, I mean, you know better than I do, but a CV, when you're going to want to show where, articles, publications, um, you know, things that you've done that are important in academia, also in science. Again, these are very important to add to your who you are. When you're just working for a corporate position, you may want to put a little bit of that in there, but you don't have to put it all in all the details. So, if I was working with you on your resume and you were going for consulting projects, I would, say, okay, let's talk about some of your papers that you've written or some of your lectures that you've given, and we might want to um, put a sample of those on there to show the breadth of your experience and what you've done and how you're known in the industry. But it wouldn't be exactly like a CV. It wouldn't have all of that. Is Rose? Oh, I didn't see that. I just saw the question. Where is that?
I have an example that I can read to you.
Okay.
Here is my practice. I am an accountant. I investigate in my work. I like to collaborate with my manager, intern, and clients. I have strengths and persevere and value soft skills. My competencies is to adapt to new technology and trends and be innovative at my job. I have structural thinking work-wise.
Okay, good. So now what I would do is I would take out all the I's, take out the first person, and now write it in a way that's just a statement. Bring that all together and add in some, like, what are you known for? What are your proven abilities in? How you like words like, successfully investigates X, that drives this. I mean, so now try to bring it all together in a paragraph. So let me get back to one to show you. So I know this infectious disease one may not be, the best one to show, but accomplished infectious disease specialist with a subset specialty virology, diverse medical therapeutic experience, and extensive experience in pharmaceutical medical affairs. Proven ability in implementing successful strategies that influence decision makers and drive results. That might be, a statement that you might be able to make. Recognized for developing and implementing innovative business tools, navigating through changing business environments, partnering with team members, cross-functional internal stakeholders, known for building solid relationships. Again, these are the types of lead-ins to the sentences that you may want to add. Is that helpful?
I have one more example to share.
Yep.
Experienced transactional procurement attorney with litigation background. Procurement team experience, including for complex federal and state-funded procurements with a focus on construction, known for identifying alternatives with creative solutions.
Excellent. That was great. My only thing is that you're using a lot of the same words. You're using this like procurement a lot. I would just try to minimize how often you repeat the same words in the paragraph. So you may want to string. I mean, again, we're just doing this very quickly, but again, try not to say the same words over again in the same paragraph. Try to find different words if you can. But that was terrific. Yay, love it. And this format is acceptable for all industries. And like I was saying, that there are different ways you can lay it out. You can take, like, for here on this example that's up here, like, I would say, maybe medical resource development, team leadership, clinical research, clinical program or strategic planning. These may be her core competencies, and you can not have the paragraph if you don't want to, and just write a couple of sentences about each of those if you want. I mean, there's many ways in which you can present yourself, but it should not be a long thing. It should not be, like, it shouldn't be a book. All right, it should just be a paragraph. This one is a little long. maybe just showing up this way on here, I don't know, but it should be no more than like 6 sentences, 6 lines. I always count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one's a little long, but again, maybe in this industry it's okay because it is a scientific position. Does that help? Anything else coming in?
One more, and then we can move on. What title would I use if I have been both a retail manager and staff pharmacist, but looking for a clinical pharmacist position? Am I supposed to use a CV or resume? I have not done a residency and only have experience from rotations from school.
So on the CV, so it may, I probably would use a CV, but if I would probably use a CV. Yeah, I'd probably use a CV. But again, it's a lot of the components are the same. So again, you would still write the statement at the top. You would say, you know, that you're a pharmacist at the top. Maybe you want to add in a couple of other words, like she has here: infectious disease specialist in virology, health outcomes. That's her focus in ophthalmology. So again, you may want to use some of those. What other keywords are important there? But I would just write it like this: the top. Absolutely. But if there's more, you know, academic stuff or scientific stuff you need to add, then you would use the CV. But the formatting is the same, you know, pretty much the same. Any other questions?
Yes, I've seen many resumes separate professional and technical skills. For example, leadership and Microsoft Word. Do you recommend doing this?
Yes. So I'm just going to close my screen for a second because I want to pull up a resume to show you. Why is this not working? I don't know. Okay, here we go. I want to pull up a resume to show you. Just give me a second here. I want to show you a technology resume. I probably should have had a bunch of these ready, right? Here we go. Okay, can you see this? Can you see the resume?
No, it's just the summary that's showing.
Okay, but you can see this? Can you see this now that I'm showing? Oh, can you see this resume that I'm showing?
Not a resume, just the summary. It just says this, yeah, the slide with the summary title.
Oh, okay. How do I share this? Okay, let me just copy it. It's not going to look pretty because it's not in oh, no, what? Okay, it's not going to look pretty because it's not in a thing, but let me just I apologize. This is not part of the program typically. All right. Why isn't it showing? Come on. Oh my God. All right, this is not working. Oh, I don't know what's going on here. All right, so I mean, I would definitely, yes. So what I would do, let me talk it to you. So I would write your summary at the top, and then what I would do is I would list all of the tools, the I can't find the word I'm looking for right now, but all those skills that you have as a in technology. So what databases are you in? What operating systems do you use? I would list all of those different categories, technology categories, and then I would list the programs next to them. So you have your summary at the top. And then I would have under your summary technical skills, and then I would list what areas or categories those technical skills fall into and what programs you are or skilled in. Does that make sense?
Yes, next question. Would you include a number of years in the industry and senior, or are you repeating yourself?
You know, I would not include the number of years. What I would say is, like, marketing executive with extensive experience. I wouldn't do the number of years, because if you say you've got 30 years, 20 years, people are calculating how old. How old is this person? They're already doing the calculation. So I would stay away from that. Or financial services leader with experienced in, that's what I would do. But I would not put in the numbers. I wouldn't do that. I mean, again, you can do anything you want. I mean, no one's gonna, like, say anything, but I just don't want people to start using the calculator.
Final question for now.
Yes.
Where
Yes.
can we find good examples of resumes? I have found many versions of a teacher resume, but none that seem to fit my skills as an educator and
So,
digital humanist.
so what I used to do is I used to type in, type in the title of the job that you are, and write, like, I just keep saying that, say, like, creative services director resume examples. And then I would type in that, and then I would just go to images and see what images come up, and there'll be tons of resumes there, and just let's start looking at them and see which ones work for you. Or pull parts, take out parts from one resume, from another resume, to create yours. But the bottom line is, as I get to sorry, that's my slide that I didn't do anything with, that the summary lives at the top of your resume. It's underneath your head. It should consist of 3 or 5 sentences. You should focus on your skills, the accomplishments, and what's most relevant in the job. And you should have one. You have to have one, because, again, recruiters, you try to make it easy for them. And recruiters, they don't have time. They are very, very busy. And so you want to make it easier for them. And so making it easier for them is having your title at the top, like what you do at a high level, couple of sentences about what you do, how you do it, what's your value, what are you known for, what are your proven abilities in. And then, competencies, just list, like no more than 9 competencies. And this way they get a great overview of you. They get a very, very clear overview. And hopefully it's going to keep you in the move forward file and not put you in the trash. Because the last thing we want to do is get our resumes in the trash. And it's really competitive out there, especially right now. There are a lot of people who have lost their jobs due to COVID, and it is a buyer's market. The companies have the upper hand right now. And what we're hearing is that, they are hiring, which is great, and people are getting jobs, which is terrific, but they may not be paying as much. They know that they don't have to pay as much now. And so, you want to make sure, again, that you are putting your best foot forward, and you're getting in that door, and you want to start having those conversations, because once you start having the conversations and you want to keep moving forward, you can then negotiate and hopefully get what you want. So with that, that's it. I hope you found this helpful. I'm sorry for the technical issues on my side, not being able to show you some of those other different resumes, but there are so many formats. There's so many different ways you can present yourself, but you need to have something on the top that summarizes who you are. It is a must. And it's just the way recruiters are looking at information right now. And this summary can be transferred to your LinkedIn profile. On LinkedIn, I would just make sure that you are writing it in the first person. Okay, are there any other questions, Stacy?
Yes, there are.
Oh, okay, good.
Would you remove dates from entire resumes, job history and graduation dates?
Well, that's our topic for next month. So we're talking about the body of the resume next month, but I'll give you a little I'll give you a little preview right now. If you've graduated college more than 5 years ago, no dates. If you have been working more than 12 to 15 years, anything below that should come off of your resume. That could all go under other experience with no dates. And if you're anything above 15 years, like recent to up to 15, back to 15 years, you put the dates down. Yes. Dates are important. And movement is important. They want to see, like if you're in one job, you came in at one level and got promoted, it's important to see that there's movement, that you've been promoted, that you've moved up. That's also important. But we'll talk about that next month.
Next question. If you are in your senior years at a career and would like to continue working, but with less responsibility, how would you apply for a job like this?
So you can apply like normally, like regularly, just start the conversation. Again, if you went in with all of that to a company, I don't know if they would want to talk to you, but I would go forward with like you're applying for any job and start having conversations. But more importantly, I would start networking. I would start telling people what you want to do and tell them what industries, what companies you're interested in, and then start networking your way into those companies to have those conversations. Because it's very hard to reply to a job and I mean, look, it's not hard to write in your cover letter, this is what I want to do, but they're not going to be interested in you. You have to start working your way from the inside, getting in and talking to people.
Next question.
And there are resources where you can look for, part-time, you can, there's many job boards that want people for, part-time jobs, or, even Indeed, you can search under part-time. Yeah, not full-time jobs. Yep.
I've had some experience in some technical programs, but have not used them in several years. Should I eliminate these from my resume or include them anyway?
If again, if these are programs that you still know, if you don't want to work with them I wouldn't list them. But again, if you want people to see all the skills that you have and the competencies that you have, you can list them. It may not be, you don't know what percentage they are of the job, if it's a big percentage of doing the work. But again, if you have the skill and you don't mind doing it, then add it in. If you don't want to do it, don't add it in. Work in that program, then don't add it in.
Can I have the awards and certifications in a resume?
Yes, they go at the bottom, but that will be next month's discussion.
Last question for the day. One second. I'm working full-time, but would like to move into consulting, utilizing my skill set with negotiations in healthcare. Where do you recommend I go to look for consulting positions?
Well, again, I would start networking look at your industry, look at the companies, start networking your way into those companies, see if there are consulting opportunities. You may also want to look on the job boards. Sometimes they post them on the job boards. And also, if you know of any like third-party agencies that sometimes hire consultants to go into companies, that'd be also a good way to do it.
One question just came in. This is actually the 3-part series that we're doing right now, so you can quickly address it. What is the format? I'm sorry, it went away. What is the format or breakdown? Cover letter, then a summary which leads to the actual resume.
So the cover letter is an introduction, introduction to what you're responding to. I'm responding to your role for a X, Y, and Z person, blah, blah, blah. Then you go into a little bit about you, a paragraph about you. I am a, experienced marketing professional who's worked in, blah, 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 doing X, Y, and Z. And then the next paragraph, you got to talk about my skills. You can talk about what you do as it relates to what they're looking for. You need to bring that into the cover letter. And then I would give a couple of examples, a couple of bullet points of your accomplishments that align with what they're looking for. And then the last paragraph is about how you're hoping to hear from them and connect. So it's not a long, it's like no more than 1 page, and it shouldn't be really dense copy. I mean, again, it's very high level. I have examples, but I can't pull them up right now. But again, high level, why you're responding, a little bit about you, how your skills align with what they're looking for, maybe some examples, and close.
Great. I think we can segue into the closing with this one last question. How should I handle employment gaps? The employment gaps, do they damage yourself when you're trying to look for a new job?
No, all you need to do is be able to tell your story. Why were there employment gaps? And you just need, that's all you need to do is answer. You got to own it, own your story. I've had gaps in my resume. People, say, well, what happened between these 2 years? Well, I was out of work, or I was raising kids, or whatever your issue is. That's what you have to do. Just say what it is. Don't, just tell your story. Everyone has gaps.
Great, thank you. I think we answered all the questions. So with that said, thank you everyone for joining us today, and a very special thank you to Susan for such an informative working presentation. For Susan's full bio, please go to stjohns.edu/APD series. Here you will also find a schedule of upcoming webinars and past recordings. I will hope you join us next month on Thursday, March 25th at 9 a.m., where we will continue this 3-part series and focus on the body of the resume. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Susan.
Bye, everyone.